where do we go as a nation from all of this? I'm going to keep it pretty short because I do know that, especially for young people, there are many people who know about Iniubong Omoren. It is a trending issue. It is a matter that has been ongoing since the beginning of this month, when a young lady who had a modest following on Twitter tweeted out. She said, "I need help. My sister, my friend, told me that someone offered to help her get a job. But right now I'm in Lagos and she is in Calabar. So I need for you to please help me locate her, because the last time I spoke with her, it was a short scream that I heard, and that was it." And to give credit to this generation, I'm talking about young people in this generation, they took up this matter and started retweeting, and it got to Akwa Ibom Twitter. On Twitter, if you're conversant, you have Ariwa Twitter. Young people have just giving themselves some kind of names so that, I beg your pardon, when things happen, you find sometimes they even hashtag it so Twitter. Anyway, so Akwa Ibom Twitter decided to Cross River stroke Akwa Ibom Twitter took up this matter and decided to trend it. They kept tweeting and retweeting. Young people on their own went on Facebook, and they were able to use the few details that they had, the phone number of this guy, and they were able to locate, the person who had offered her a job, in the person of a certain Frank Udwak Akman. And this went on for a whole day. They ran to the police. The police said that if it's not 48 hours, you cannot declare a person missing. And so therefore, they did not want to take action, but the heat somehow was so much. I'd like to think that it is because Iniubong Omoren was an orphan. And somehow, the police swung into action even before the 48 hours were over. However, it was too late for Iniubong Omoren and many more. Only God knows how many more. Because when they got to the house, and the youths of the place actually went in there, broke the fence. When they were able to locate the house, they broke the fence, went in there and started digging. And that was where they found Ini's body. Of course, several vital parts of Hiny had been cut off. It was it's alleged that she had been raped, killed, and then harvested for her organs, some vital organs. And not just that, in that very compound, they found other shallow graves. There were bones of people. As a matter of fact, even copper boots were found in the soil. There were sandals. All sorts were found in that compound. And of course, many empty cans or containers of acid, because it seemed like once Frank was done with raping and killing and maiming, he would pour acid over their bodies and then bury them in in shallow graves. And so Iniubong Omoren's death raised a lot of questions. It's a very sad one. Digging into her life, a 26-year-old who just wanted to be honest. She didn't want to be a girl, like we love to call it. She was just looking for a job, and she did ask for help. And there was no other place she could have thrown it than where she did. She threw it on social media, and this Frank reached out and offered her a job, or said he was going to offer her a job. Now, it is even more heart-wrenching and heartbreaking to realize that Hiny was also a top student of her class. She was one of the very few who made a 4.12, yes, in the Department of Philosophy at the University of Uyo. Now, long after Hiny's body was discovered, a lot of Nigerians said, look, this girl cannot die like that. What happened? How did this guy get to lure her? And who is he? Because it was obvious that there was reticence. Even after Frank had been apprehended, there was reticence on the part of the Akwa Ibom State Police to, help unravel. They just stuck everything on him. But there were questions. This boy's phone called several numbers. And so a very popular journalist, as a matter of becoming, I don't know what to call David Hundeyin at this point, but he was able to use contacts with providers, and they were able to get him records from Frank's phone. Now, like I said, I don't want to bore you with details because a lot of people have followed this story. But some of the important things that I feel we should bring out is that, one, Frank called an SP of police, or what do they call them now? Superintendent of police. Yeah. Called him while he was on the run. Not just that, there was another highly placed person that Frank ran to, spoke with during that period when he must have killed Hiny already, freshly killed Hiny. Apart from that, there were also calls back to back from an unknown number that is yet to be unknown. Now, let me quickly tell us why that number seems to be untraceable. The number is from these analog, these phones that we call cheap phones, phones that go for about 2,000, 3,000. That call was from there. Now, David has brought that to the fore, that phones like that hardly is difficult to trace. Yes. They're not, because they're not digital phones.
Yeah. They don't have GPS.
They do not have GPS. They do not have any digital footprint.
Any tracking device.
No digital print at all. And I'm still going to come back to this as per lessons what are we learning from this issue? Now, there's an NGO that is supposed to be resident in the place where that top public servant in the Niger Delta ministry is supposed to have been talking to Frank from. Because when you're calling, it just talks about where you are at that time. Yes. And David Hundeyin was also able to explain that the policeman, that superintendent of police, was not too far from where this Kufri, a certain Kufri, was before the Kufri. David is supposing that Kufri must have sent the SP's number to Frank to call him because he will take care of everything. Now, beyond all of this, just for us to be quick, beyond all of this, we also with blood. The people who took that video became those arrested. And today that man is still in the Osun State House, not just walking free, he is in the Osun State House of Assembly, and he is the speaker or minority, so he has a post. I'm not followed that story properly, but he has a post in the Osun State House of Assembly. Now, for me this morning on Perspectives, I'd like to also welcome, or should I say, you should be welcoming me, Dorcas Bagaya and Job Daniel, this morning on Perspectives. Let's brainstorm. Let's rub minds together. This is our Nigeria. A lot of people said, if it was in other places, they would have done it, but this is Nigeria. Bottom line, this is our country. There is no, unless you have a dual citizenship, There is no other place where you can be as free, be as you as possible, like you can be in Nigeria. No other place on the planet Earth. No other place. So this is Nigeria. This is who we are. Whatever we see today is a reflection of our society. And so the question, what is coming out from this? What lessons are we taking away from this? I will start with myself before we come to Dorcas and Job.
Yeah.
For me, one of the first things that is coming out from this for me is that we cry about restructuring. We want to go our separate ways. We want to, Nigeria cannot be one. That man across the Niger is my problem. That man down south is my problem. That man up north is my problem. And yet today, whether it is the SP or the CP or the Frank himself, all the people who murdered Iniubong Omoren and who cut her dreams short, who felt that she was nothing other than fodder, other than dispensable material for them, are so-called people from her place. For me, one of the most important lessons, if only Nigerians would listen, is that there are beasts clothed as men from every tribe and every race. And in the same vein, there are angels. There are people who would do you better than a brother or a sister from every creed, every tribe, every race out there. And so when people start to talk about, I want it will become paradise, it will get better if only our society becomes homogeneous, if we have our own country where everybody is a certain tribe, everybody speaks in a certain way, everything will be fine. Will everything be fine? Will everything be fine? Let us ask ourselves these questions and answer them honestly. Because once again, I'm saying that the people who killed, and most likely all the other bodies that were found or were supposed, because the CP is saying it is just Ini's body, but we all know that there's evidence, pictures all over social media that show that there was more going on in that uncompleted building than Ini's death. There's more that had happened. It wasn't an isolated incident. Those people are most likely locals. They wouldn't come, Frank wouldn't come up north, to pick someone and go and murder in Akwa Ibom. He would most likely look around his immediate environment. The people who are working with Frank are picking human lives like flowers from within their immediate environment. So for me, that's one of the most important things I'm learning. I've known actually, but I'm reiterating for people to know that, look, yes, we can advocate for better governance. We can advocate for operating true federalism, because in that case, the governance gets closer to the people. But when you start to talk about ripping a country apart, let's go our separate ways and all of that, let's ask ourselves, those who killed Ini. And by the way, this job hunting stroke, using it as a lure to kill innocent people, is going on everywhere. In Lagos, up north here, it is. They say it is the person that you catch stealing that you call a thief.
Yes.
It is because we haven't found people yet. Let us quickly come to the man who picked his neighbor's 5-year-old, or was it 6-year-old, in Badarawa here.
5-year-old.
Took him all the way to Kano and killed that child. Did not even have the decency of burying a small child like that, an innocent soul like that, in the ground. You went and dropped him in a drainage.
Oh.
Was it the people who carried out that heinous crime, were they Southerners? No. I mean, Even my Bible says that a man's enemy are of his household. So for me, that's one of the most important things, once again, that I am reiterating as a person, that look, stop pointing fingers. We are all in a deep mess. We all have a society that has lost its moral compass. And we all, if we must survive, must join hands together to pull this country out of the mess in which she's in. Another lesson I'm learning from this is that the insecurity we are facing in Nigeria, I have said this before. Some people have accused me of being a conspiracy theorist. I would not pretend to be a great investigative journalist, but this I will tell you, I do know how to read between the lines. And I will tell you that from reports back, front, center, side to side, it is obvious that we have foreign powers, foreign hands in our matter. And when I say in our matter, not in a good way. They're not here to help. Why am I linking this to Hiny? If we are to go the path of saying that it is a body parts market, there is no place else where body parts go for a very high price. I'm going to be asking you to please, reel out some of the numbers, some of the prices for body parts. Like in China. China is a ready market for all of this, from your spleen to the brain, even to the skin, to genitals. Do you know that the small intestine goes for over $12,000? There's also another part.
Israel is also a top country.
Is another top country. Yeah. The spleen, the eyeballs. So, haven't we been giving people, if we're to go the path of body parts markets thriving in Nigeria for foreign powers, have we not given them enough fodder? The number of people who have been kidnapped and haven't come back, the number of people who have been killed that we do not even know. What exactly is going on? And yet we are busy infighting. We are busy attacking each other. And so these other people, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we don't have traitors within. But we are not being selective about how we are uniting and attacking. What we're doing is just attacking each other free for all. And so for me, another thing that, for me is coming out is we're providing a huge market for people who would have healthy spleens, healthy livers, healthy kidneys sold to them. As a matter of fact, someone said, kidnapping, if the person's people cannot raise money, then they would kill the person so that the person himself will raise money for himself. Of course, not to be ransomed anymore. There's no coming back from that kind of payment. For me, those are two very important things. And at this point, I would want to allow Dorcas and Job, any one of you can go.
For me, first of all, this is
have you running stomach already?
Very sad.
It's very sad, actually.
A very, very sad situation. But then at the same time, I think this shed a lot of light in a whole new market that we're seeing, which is the body part, the organ market. But at the same time, I feel I see Nigeria changing, because before now you would hear of these things, but then they die off quickly. You don't get to see people who actually investigate and go through. We do have journalists who go the extreme to get information, but then now information moves quickly, and then we've seen the youths in Akwa Ibom who went as far as locating the house to even find where
the shallow grave
Hiny was. This is
yeah.
people coming together. Nigeria is changing, whether people like it or not. A light has been shed. Yes, we are noticing now a lot of the potholes in our society is being shed a light on, because now we're seeing that we have corrupt officers in different parts of society. Yes, they're getting away with certain things, but
so
it doesn't change the fact that now they're in the spotlight. They can never change the fact that a light has been shed in that area, and it will continue until someday it has to stop, or at least
it has to end.
It cannot be done in the open anymore like that. Because in the past, then things like this die off before they even start off.
It used to be far away.
We will not even hear of names. We will not even be hearing of situations like this. We'll probably hear, someone died and this is what happened, just as the CP came out and said it on TV. That would have been the only information that people would have heard on NTA, and that would have been it.
Yeah.
But now we have people rising up, investigating, getting information, sharing information, despite what we're hearing on national television and whatnot. We ourselves are Nigerians have said creating information outside of what they're getting from government. They're sharing information, getting to know. So, information is power.
Yes, it
and
is.
someday, that power it's going to be something that cannot be, subdued or, oppressed or pressed down. So the thing is, I see change, which is really, really good. This is one of the lessons that I'm learning from this. I see change in Nigeria. I see that things are opening up. Loopholes, light is being shed on different loopholes that will not be able to be avoided anymore in the future, because this is how it begins. This is how economies begin to evolve. When things are being noticed, when things are being recognized, and then before you know it, it's not usually easy. But then there's a change, there's a growth that comes from that. Also, this idea of people using, job. Nigeria, yes, we have about 70% of the country being youths and whatnot.
And now the unemployment rate is also very
high. And this is why I believe people are using this as an avenue to get, to capture this young people. Talking about this, to be honest, the other day a child of about 16 came up to me and gave me a sheet of paper that was basically very little, and it had an advert of house girl needed, management supervisor, 25,000, 50,000, very tiny sheet of paper.
Distributing the paper.
This person distributed it and also gave her. She was in her school uniform, and you give her a paper saying you're looking for cleaner. Someone who is in secondary school.
You can be,
and then you're putting such an attractive
salary or
salary on it.
Okay. I know some of these papers. And some of these flyers are always on walls of people's houses.
This person distributed it and gave it to a child of about 15 or so, and said, there's a number there, she should call if she's interested in the job. And the moment I looked at it, I said, how did this person look? Did he look like someone who was receiving even that kind of salary?
Right. Good question.
Don't allow yourself to be deceived by such things, because this person might even be a kidnapper. It might be a way for them to lure people in, because they know, Nigeria, we're going through a lot. We've entered another recession right now. A lot of people are suffering. Prices of things in the market, are going up. People are scared. People are living.
As a matter of fact, Dorcas, I hear that right now there are people who will even pay for your flight ticket. It's gotten that bad. They will come over for an interview, and they are kidnappers. There are people who are ready to do you harm. They will pay for flight ticket. That's how bad it's gotten.
I think we're missing the actual word here, because we have serial killers, because they are serial rapists. The whole kidnapping thing is so organized. They organize themselves. They package themselves. Let me use that word.
Right.
It's a well packaged thing.
It is.
They organize everything, because recently I was speaking to a friend of mine via social media. She now told me that there's a job opening somewhere, and coincidentally, that the same job had the same numbers. The same job had the same numbers and the same location where the interviews are taking place. Different jobs, same name, and the same numbers. And
same location, same phone numbers, and looking at the place, and when she was like, she wants to go and track the place just to see how the environment is. It's just somewhere around Cardinal South here, in Sabo here, and the place, the office is not something that you say, yes, this is an office. So something is fishy about it. And they also sent me a text message at one time to come for the interview, and the salary was outrageous. They said between 80,000 and 95,000 monthly. I said in Kaduna. Exactly.
Do you understand? The question, so many questions came to my head. I was like, wait, how this is too real, too good to be true. Because I know the only jobs that can give you such kind of amount is maybe when you're working for an NGO outside your comfort zone. But here we are. And
even if there were jobs like that, Job, would you be advertising it like popcorn, like
at all?
Because you know, we are talking about a country where we have a high unemployment rate.
Very, very
and
high.
then you have a job of 20, 30, 50,000, 90,000, and then you are practically begging people to come do the job.
Yeah.
You know,
is it realistic? It doesn't make sense.
Well,
it
the
doesn't make
situation
sense
in Nigeria has made everyone desperate. Even people who have jobs are desperate. It has created some sort of desperation in our hearts. Everyone is guilty of it. But the only thing is, you need to be careful. You need to be careful every time you find yourself in a situation where you feel, okay, this is it. You need to sit down, take a minute, breathe, and think.
Yeah.
Because if not, at that moment, you cannot allow a feeling take over what your brain should be doing.
Sentiments.
You need to sit down and then think. Ask yourself questions that you should be asking. Is this how this should come? Is this how it should be? You're a smart person. In Nigeria, most of the time people are pushed to go to school. Except for the people who are not privileged to, or the people who haven't had the opportunity to. But in most cases in Nigeria, people are pushed to go to school. And even if we have street smart, this is Nigeria, people do not go to school, but we have a lot of skilled people in Nigeria. Nigerians are smart. They're the smartest people, for me, in the world. They're the ones doing big things in countries.
Very, very creative.
They're the ones creating and building and growing businesses and enterprises around the world. They're the most educated people in the US that everyone is looking up to. Most of the most educated people in the US, the highly educated people, are Nigerians.
Yeah.
The professors that are being called in Harvard, Oxford, to come and talk about their papers are Nigerians.
Yeah.
And it's not just from reading. It shows that we are built with something naturally. We are smart individuals. So you're in an environment where there are other smart individuals. You need to think the same. You need to try and adapt to the Nigerian way. If not, the world is changing, to be honest, and it's not what things used to be. My mom used to say, back then at 12 a.m. you can decide, okay, you want to walk from Kaduna to Kafanchan, and nothing will happen to you on the road.
Freely.
But now, even with your car that is bulletproof, you're not even sure. You'll be praying that if you get to your destination. Even with the bulletproof car at 12 a.m., you cannot try it
at all.
So really, we need to think about the society that we're in, and we need to act accordingly. But it doesn't change the fact that things are happening every other day. But then,
And for me to Dorcas, another thing that I'm learning that is coming out from all of this is we are a reflection. This society we're seeing, this thing that your mom was telling you about, walking to Kafanchan at 12 a.m., it's still happening in other African countries.
Yes, it is.
It's still happening in other African countries. You get up at 1 a.m. and that's when you decide that you want to move from this town to the next.
And you're free to do so.
You're free to do so.
And there's something I've learned.
So we are a reflection of this society. What kind of people are we? We've lost our moral compass as a people.
Totally.
Maybe as one person, no, you haven't. But when we have a bigger picture where there's a problem, then we have to lump ourselves together and say, look, we have what lessons, what values are we teaching our children? I mean, children learn from example.
Yes.
And when you make everything about material, as a matter of fact, while we were talking, I said, Dorcas will be giving us prices, body parts. Someone quickly sent me a message and said, please do not mention those prices, because you are going to be giving ideas to some idle people at home. And I said, you're right. But the question now goes back to what kind of individuals are those? What kind of people are we raising? What kind of children are we raising?
Yeah, and you know, there's something the lesson I've learned now from Hiny's death. You know, it has it brought people together.
Yes.
And thank God for the hashtag #EndSARS protest also. It united Nigerian youths. For the first time, I think I've never seen youth coming together.
Did it unite both North and South?
To a point, it did. To a point, it did.
To a point, yeah.
To a point, yes. I won't say totally, but to a point, it did. Because everyone became a victim of certain things.
Yes.
And
until propaganda
came up. So and then looking at, yes, okay, there's unemployment. And Hiny innocently, like you said earlier, innocently just wanted a job, and she actually looked for an opportunity using the social media to look for a job, and people try to help her get a job. Now it brings to light. It brings to light that even those we look up to for shelter are actually the ones feasting on us.
Yes.
Because just hearing what the CP was saying, it's honestly, I have to say this thing with no remorse. It's shameful.
It is.
It is shameful because there's evidence. Okay, who owns those shoes, the jungle boots, the uniforms? Who are those that own it? And there's something about, because I know there were phone calls made. If we're going to check it, you know, thank God for Truecaller. Truecaller reveals your identity. And now I think there's an upgrade whereby the Truecaller will link to one of your social media accounts to tell the kind of person you are. Now, when they traced the number of the Frank guy, it showed political. So it means he has an affiliation with politics and with people who are above him. Like you said, he's the one doing the dirty work. So he's more like a supplier, and he gets his own commission, and then that's it. So something is wrong with our system. Something is really wrong with our system.
Well, you know, at the same time, whenever I sit down, I think of the idea that Nigerians, we give so much power to our government, and I believe government is just supposed to be paper pushers. But we give them so much power. You know, even in life, whatever you look so much up to and you give so much responsibility, you give that thing power. Yeah. And that is what we do. We take so much of the responsibility away from ourselves as citizens, and then we place it to the government, which is why whatever it is that we're being fed, we have to take. Whatever it is that we're being told, we have no choice. And that is, like you said, the reflection we're getting back. Yeah. We're getting that because now we bring youths are coming up with evidence showing this is what is happening, but then people come up on TV and tell you, no, this is what they want you to know. This is what they're telling you. And you have no choice because, after all, in the beginning, you give them so much power and responsibility that it's supposed to be yours. But you're giving that out to paper pushers, and now they feel, okay, whatever I tell you to think, whatever I tell you to say, that is what you should say.
Apart from that, Dorcas, even unity to fight insecurity. Now, how many of us know our neighbors? This Frank's house was in a location. If a house has remained uncompleted for a while, why are the neighbors not asking?
And someone is
outside this country, you can't just go and, you know, pack your things, for instance, and they see you moving in one day, and then they see you only once in a while coming to the house. One day somebody is going to hold a cheesecake and come knocking and say, hello, why aren't you living here? You're going to get questions like that.
Lots of questions.
But we don't do that.
We don't. Honestly,
we don't do that. And then, you know, very funny. And there was one time when people were trending, I'm not going to call names because I don't want to get sued, but there are some rich people in this country that people would see them with ordinary touchlight phones, like we love to say. They carry it around. And there was one time when a lot of people said, you know, these people must be really humble. These people must be what?
No, it's not.
This case just goes to tell you that it's not. It might be about humility. It might. Well, but what if it's a burner phone? What if it's one of those phones because they don't want a digital footprint?
All right, for more, it is still the perspectives here on INVICTA 98.9 FM with Jacqueline Adebija, Job Daniel, and myself, Dorcas Bagaya. We'll be going on a quick commercial break. When we return, you'll hear more from us. All right, welcome back from that commercial break. It is still perspectives here on INVICTA 98.9 FM. We've been talking about Iniubong Omoren's death and the lessons that we have learned, the light that has been shed upon that story here in Nigeria. So before we went on the commercial break, we've been talking, everyone gave their the lessons that they learned from the situation. And most of all, before we went on the break, I really wanted to talk about this. Actually, is inspired by Michael Jackson's song, which is, when you look in the mirror, you are the change that you want to see. You should be the change that you want to see. And this is something that I think Nigerians really need to reflect on, because a lot of times we want several things. We want restructuring, we want this, we want insecurity to end. But before we went on the break, Jackie was talking about how, that building where Hiny was found, that building, that man, Ezekiel, right?
Frank, yes.
He had neighbors. And
nobody
people should have
questions.
noticed that, okay, people have been going in there and no one is coming out. The people who have been going into that household have not been coming out. So have you been contributing to society? That is another question that I think Nigerians need to ask themselves. Have you been contributing to the peace that you want to see? Have you been contributing to the security that you want around your area? Have you been putting an eye on what is going on? Do you see people walking around, checking out your street, and you're saying nothing about it? You should be able to say something about it. You should be able to call the police to investigate, or even you yourself, find out what is going on. Notice that person. Notice what the person looks like, what they wear. You should be able to give information, and that is what I think a lot of Nigerians lack. We do not notice our environment a lot. Anything that does not involve our pockets, we do not care. But we need to observe. We need to observe the people that are around us, the people that come around our areas, because that home is yours. You don't have any other home that you will run to for comfort aside that home. So if someone tampers with it, even if you have another one, it is still going to disturb you.
And there's something about Nigerians. We get too silent in the midst of evil.
Yes, we do.
When we're supposed to speak, we are silent about it because I don't want to have problem to anybody. I don't want anybody to see me as someone that's going to expose the other person. So why keep silent in the midst of evil? So what if it visits you in your own house? Will you be silent? So it's I don't really know what to say, because it's really eating me on the inside, and it's really sad that things like this is coming up. But thank God that now we're going to put our eyes on everything. Now we know who is responsible for certain things. If anything happens now, we know that, okay, these are the people that are even trying to cover up the whole thing and all that. So well, it's a sad one. It's a very sad one.
We're in a society that is growing, and for it to continue to grow, we need to contribute a lot to that society, to get that society that we want. If not, it is not going to get to anywhere. We can't sit down at home and complain. We can't sit down at home, call on radio and complain when you yourself, you're not doing anything to make sure that your immediate environment is safe. Your immediate environment, you're not observing it. You cannot sit there and blame your leaders for certain things that you yourself, as a leader of your immediate society, you're not doing. That is hypocritical. You need to do certain things. You need to take steps. Hiny was an outstanding student. Her teachers kept sending in positive remarks, saying she was a really good student. They wouldn't even mind if she became a professor. She's someone they would recommend to become a professor, because she is very good at what she does. She's very intentional and decisive. But this is a lady that we just lost. And probably if the people in that environment where Ezekiel Akpan lived noticed what was going on in that building, before then noticed, things like this wouldn't have happened
at all.
Right.
We need to be our own watchdogs. We can't just leave. Being a citizen is not just about sitting by, going to work and paying your taxes. You need to take care of you have to watch it. You have to take care of it. You have to maintain it. Even if it's just like, the government is like getting help. If you get help in your house, it doesn't mean you're going to sit in your bedroom. You will not come out to see what they are doing. You will not check and even correct them and say, okay, see, you missed this corner. This is how you should do it. If they see that you're watchful, you understand what the job entails, and they themselves, they'll pick up. But when you sit there and you just expect them to do what they should be doing, That is why even in offices there are managers, we have our head of programs here.
Yeah.
She keeps an eye on us. She makes sure that we're doing our job. If she doesn't do that, nobody
works. Nothing is going to happen.
Maybe we would have been at home chilling now.
Yeah. All right.
And so that is, what we're experiencing in Nigeria today. Yes, the government has a lot to play in society today, but at the same time, we cannot blame people that we employed or put in office to do certain work when we're not putting an eye. Yes, we're not putting in time.
And from the home, it all starts from the home. What are we teaching our children? And when I say teach, it's not what you're saying, it's what you're doing. When someone drives by with a car, you're like, oh boy, you don't hammer. I mean, you should extol virtues that you want to see in your children. Wealth is good, but create value first, and wealth will naturally follow.
True. True.
All right, so
let's open up the phone lines.
Let's see if we can take one call. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name?
Elder Daniel Adebija.
All right, Elder.
Yes, I just want to bless you guys for digging into the fabric of the society. There's nothing wrong with Nigeria. What is wrong is we, the people in Nigeria. Like Jacqueline rightly said, I remember when I was growing up, my father will always tell me, what is not your own, not your own. Work hard to get what is yours. Invariably, I should not put eyes on things that other people are doing. Should be mindful of what I'm doing and be serious at it. But here we are. We don't know how people get their wealth, but we celebrate wealth, forgetting the foundation of the wealth. And when I was growing up, there is nothing like mind your own business though, because we live in a compound like in mini Nigeria. Every parent around takes care of other people's children when their parents are not around. It's not my concern. Then you misbehave, you pay for it. And when your parent comes back, they have to go and appreciate the other parents that dealt with you. But what are we seeing today? We are so, comfortable in our corners, and this moral decadence has eaten deep into the fabric of the society. Whatever you are seeing in the society today is as a result of what happened right from the home. Now you see people, especially young ones, not giving due diligence and respect to the elderly. You spank a child or you correct a child, the parent will be right there in the front telling you not to. I remember then, if you see elderly people carrying things, even if you are not going that direction, you carry it for them until they ask you, don't worry, I'll take it over from there. So what are we saying? Our neighbors, in most cases, we know what they are doing, but we tend to keep quiet. And that is exactly what it is. Like the lady you talked about is it Akwa Ibom?
Akwa Ibom.
Yeah, does it mean that guy that, committed this act was a spirit? There would have been antecedents now, and people are suddenly keeping quiet. And you said they reported to the police, and police said until after 24 hours, we can't declare anybody. What is wrong with police declaring such a person missing? And if the person is found, you can apologize. Is it not done that way? Must you necessarily wait for 48 hours before somebody is declared missing when the family are concerned? And even the police and all other agencies too, they are as a result of homes each and every one of us come from.
Indeed.
I think it is high time we forget about things that divide us and actually come together and fight the monster in the society. Otherwise, we might all be consumed.
Okay.
Good morning.
Thank you, Elder Dari, for your contribution. I think this is where we'll call it wraps on the program Perspectives here on INVICTA 98.9 FM. Remember, as Nigerians, let us stand united and push for a better and safe Nigeria. Stay tuned for more. The news brief comes up next at 10 a.m.